Five ants, she burns. Have you ever found yourself thinking, God, do you know one of the annoying things about life is that my interactions with poo that is not my own are so unpredictable. You never know the moment that you're going to see it. If you're looking for some, it could be days before you'd come across it. Thankfully, somebody has finally solved that problem because Nigel George and two of his colleagues have opened the National Poo Museum in the Isle of Wight Zoo. It is also known as Poo at the Zoo, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a museum of excrement where you are able to go in and go, oh, I wonder what did that and how long ago. Begs the question why anybody would set this up. Nigel, out of curiosity, you decided we needed a poo museum. Why?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It all came about because one of my colleagues, we're an arts collective, you see. This is one of many art science sort of mixed discipline projects that we have on the go at the moment. And so Daniel Roberts, who's our inventor, was in Sweden. He's half Swedish. He was out in Sweden with some family and friends out in the countryside, wandering around, looking at wildlife, and he found a lynx poo. And he noticed that everybody was far more fascinated by the poo than they were by the actual animals that they could see. And so when he came back to the Isle of Wight and our studio where I am now in Sandown Bay, we sat down. He was telling us this story, and we thought that's really interesting, you know, because you tend to think people's reaction to poo is one of disgust. And yet, what he saw seemed to go against that. And so we started talking about, well, maybe there's an exhibition there. And then we got a bit more ambitious and thought, well, maybe there's more than an exhibition. Maybe there's a whole museum. And so that's kind of how we work. We have an idea and then we do it.
The one bit in this I would have thought that is a challenge in an exhibition is odour issues.
Yes. I mean, obviously, poo, you know, potentially is a dangerous thing, and you know it's an issue that causes problems around the world with poor sanitation in less developed parts of the world, etc. And there lies a serious note to what we're doing. I mean, it's a funny thing. You can't help but laugh about it. But yes, so we have to be very careful when handling the poos, and of course when arranging them for exhibition. And what Daniel has done, being an inventor, has developed a way of completely drying the animal feces that he's collected to the point where they no longer smell, and then safely encapsulating them in clear resin. So they become almost like beautiful works of art.
Really? Do they?
And well, this is the thing that you know when you see them encapsulated in this. Some of these are quite large spheres as well, you know, and they're on a little podium that you can press a button and they light up. And because they are in this resin, they're kind of magnified as well, and you get to see what the animal's been eating, and you know, little teeth and bones if it's
desiccated, magnified, encapsulated, illuminated poo.
It's absolutely bonkers. And do you know what? I'm so tempted to say this is our first radio interview that we've done, so I think you have got the scoop.
It's quite the scoop. It's good to be in on the cutting edge of something like this. Give us a sense of the spectrum of poo that is available to the people who might come in to see it.
Well, at the moment, so this is a work in progress. We're working with the wonderful Isle of Wight Zoo, who are our next door neighbours. So we've got a studio on the Sandown seafront in Sandown Bay, and the zoo is right next door to us. They were the obvious choice to help us develop this project because they've got lots of lovely animals, and so they've been donating some of their poo for us to exhibit. So we've got things like lion, we've got lemurs, meerkats, we've got some local animal poos as well, like herring gull and rook and stuff like that.
Herring gull? How do you collect a herring gull poo?
Well, as I said, a lot of the work that we do is what we would call mixed discipline art science projects, and our other neighbours are some ecologists called Art Consulting. Now, they are brilliant because much of the work that they do is about, environmental enhancement, etc., and they're experts in going out and sort of, seeing what the atmosphere of a particular place is like. And one of the ways they do that is by looking at the poo. If you can't see the animal, you can find the poo. And they just been bringing us stuff back.
But
So,
I'm still struggling with how to, like, even with a very fine spatula, that's going to be a tricky task.
It's so interesting that you should say that, because one of the techniques that Daniel has developed is to kind of, it's very bizarre. I can't believe I'm telling you this, really. But what he does is he kind of freeze dries them instantly with a fire extinguisher. and then he very carefully lifts them so as not to change the shape of them at all. And
Genius.
then he puts them in a thing called a poo hammock. And the poo hammock then goes... Oh, it's silly, isn't it? But this is absolutely true, I promise you. And then the poo hammock goes into a poo dryer that he's invented. And a poo dryer can take up to about 5 different types of poo at one time. And then, depending on the size of the animal poo, depending on what it was, it could be in the poo dryer for maybe a day, or if it's something like a lion poo, which is a substantial amount of poo, then it's probably a week or so in the poo dryer, just completely drying out. And then it's kind of, it's not so yucky. It loses its smell. Once all the wetness has gone from it, they lose their smell.
Never has so much ingenuity, time, effort, intellect and innovation been applied to excrement.
You have no idea, Anton. You have no idea.
So what's your personal favourite in those quiet evenings when you're sitting at home smoking your pipe with your slippers on and you're thinking about the desiccated poo that is your legacy?
Yeah.
Which is the one you're most proud of?
It's interesting actually, because it's a pellet rather than a poo, and we've included some pellets in the exhibition. And if you're not sure what a pellet is something that's partially digested and then is kind of coughed up, a bit like a fur ball that a cat would do, and these are just parts that the animal doesn't want to go through the rest of their digestive system. And so we've got a pellet from a herring gull actually that tells a fantastic story, and it has a piece of plastic bag inside it that you can clearly see. And of course, this is a real issue that is a problem. Birds, animals ingesting plastic that us human beings are leaving behind. And so you can see how, as a kind of lovely nature detective story to be told just by looking at these poos. And this particular herring gull pellet is a fantastic way of telling a cautionary tale.
There's a vast variety of texts coming in. Is it all just animal poo, or is there famous poo, like Napoleon's last poo?
We would love to do a celebrity... we've talked about this, Al Pacino's poo, Robert De Niro's poo. I mean, wouldn't it just like Madame Tussauds, but it's just poo, celebrity poo. I have a whole celebrity poo section. Well... I mean, the Isle of Wight Zoo at the moment, where you can see the poos, it's on loan to them. This is our first part of the museum. What we hope to do is set up our own external museum at some point, and then we can have our celebrity poo section and all the other things that we want to do. It's such an expansive subject. It's unbelievable.
Nigel, fair dues to you. And there's a lot of people asking, is this related to the 1st of April? No, this is genuinely a real thing.
I promise it's a genuine thing. I mean, if you we've been absolutely astonished by the response. We never expected it. We do lots of projects as a group of jobbing artists who have chosen to work together. We do all sorts of things. It's extraordinary that all we had to do is say poo and suddenly everyone would take notice of what we're doing. But it's no less important than any of the other things that we do. It is funny, but then most of what we do is, a sense of humour is definitely required to capture people's imaginations. The interesting thing is that children get it instantly, and I think it's children that are dragging their parents to the Isle of Wight Zoo, not just to see their beautiful animals, but to see their beautiful animals too, as well.
If you fancy seeing the world's crappiest exhibition, because you can say that with pride, Nigel, it definitely is the crappiest exhibition in the world.
Yes, it is, and it's a compliment if I say that. We can't lose, can we? Good or bad, we cannot lose.
It is poomuseum.org is where you can get information. Twitter is @PooMuseum, and if you want to find them on Facebook, it is the National Poo Museum. Nigel, thank you very much for coming on.
Anton, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Commissions. Are you a hotel, B&B or guest house and tired of paying commission to Booking.com, Trivago and all those other online travel agents? At InviteIreland.com,